everyone, this is Mr. Omniverse 4 here, and today people I'm going to be doing a review. Yeah, an actual review of something. Now, before I get into this review, I want to talk about Ben 10. It's, first off, I'm going to say that right now that Ben 10 is my all-time favorite cartoon series. I liked the original series, I liked the animation, I liked the aliens, I loved the action, I loved the characters. It was just an all-around good series. And then, Alien Force. It was not as good, but I still liked it. The animation style was different, but still, it was pretty good animation. At first I was a little against how Kevin was being characterized as a good guy from now on, but as the series went on, it kind of grew to accept it because they did flesh him out. And then there's the part where we have, the story was good too. All 3 seasons had good plots. Seasons 1 and 2, the hybrid was built up. That was good, and then season 3 with Vilgax, I found myself liking that. And then, as for Ultimate Alien, I liked the first season. I liked the Agrigor subplot. That was built up, and it worked well. But as the series rolled on, it started to go downhill. I mean, there were still some parts I liked. I still liked the Ultimate Transformations, and I did like the Ben 10,000 Returns episode. I liked the episode where the Ultimate Aliens wanted out. I liked the episode where Ben was apparently in his own nightmare world created by Albedo, but a lot of things I still didn't like. The built-up part with the built-up subplot with the Dagon, it really didn't feel that fleshed out. It didn't really feel that great, and I could easily say the filler was actually more entertaining than the actual plot that the last season of the series had. So yeah, Ultimate Alien started out good. It just as it went on, it went downhill. But yeah, to this day, I'm gonna say that the Ben 10 franchise is my favorite cartoon television series of all time. I like the premise, I like the story, I like the characters. It's good. Plus, I like the Omnitrix, and besides, my screen name is Mr. Omnitrix 4. Of course I like this series. So, yeah, if you haven't guessed right now, this video is Ben 10 related. So, I just saw a video for, not a video, I just finished watching the sneak peek towards the newest Ben 10 series, Ben 10 Omniverse. And, since Ultimate Alien ended on a really dumb note, I'm just gonna say what my thoughts on the series are right now. First, I'm gonna just do a little synopsis. First off, this is kind of like a sneak preview. This was a sneak preview towards, the hour-long premiere. And, so, yeah. So, it was basically just the first half hour of an hour-long show, which would most likely be a 2-parter when it's released on DVD and iTunes. So, what's the premise? The premise is that this is after Ben has gotten his new Omnitrix, which he got at the end of Ultimate Alien, and, apparently now, Ben is now apparently supposed to be working on his own, while Gwen is going off to college, and Kevin's following after her. Is going with her. Not following, he's going with her. So, Ben thinks he's going to be on his own, but then Grandma Max decides to team him up with a by-the-book alien. And Ben, of course, doesn't really like this at all. So, guess that's all I can say for premise. But, first I'm gonna... This is just... No, I should have said this when I started this review. This is the very first video review I've ever done. Technically second, but the first video I did that was like this was too long and I couldn't post it. And I'm thinking about redoing that one except in audio format. But, right now I'm just gonna give you a laydown on my thoughts on the episode. First I'm gonna say what I liked, but by the way, spoilers. Again, I should have said that at the beginning of the video. There's gonna be spoilers for the first half hour of the series premiere of Omniverse, so, if you don't want spoilers, I'd suggest you turn away now. So, what I liked about the series, what I saw, I like that it actually is trying to pick up where Ultimate Alien left off, and I think it's trying to pick up the pieces that Ultimate Alien dropped. First off, what I liked was that usually, you know how Ben 10 usually begins with, in all the series, it usually begins with a little first thing that usually shows, like, the prologue of the episode, so to speak. I liked the prologue. It was creative, actually. The prologue was apparently it starts out with 4 arms facing off against a red galvanic mechamorph, and, it looks like he's winning until the galvanic mechamorph hacks the Omnitrix, and when it ultimately turns out that this is 10-year-old Ben. That's what I liked. I liked seeing 10-year-old Ben back in action. I mean, yeah, come on, everyone loves the original Ben 10 series, and seeing that little homage right there, I think that's something that everyone here's gonna most certainly like. And they got Tara Strong back to play Ben. Yeah, and they got the original timeout sequence. It's good. I liked it. It was basically just a little throwback to the original Ben 10 series. And then another thing I liked was the characterization of the characters, because 10-year-old Ben still seemed like his 10-year-old self, bratty and still jumping into things. And then when it fast-forwarded to the future, Ben still seemed like himself. He was arrogant, but apparently he still had aged. It shows that the experiences he's had are still there with him. And then there's the humor. The humor actually is surprisingly well-timed and actually does feel good. It doesn't feel forced or anything. It actually does feel well-timed and actually pretty well. Pretty good. I am terribly sorry. I'm terribly sorry about my way I'm talking. I like how Ben still has some of his aliens, and by the way, they actually did do that classic screw-up gag that Ben 10 usually has when he goes hero. You know, like, he's picking an alien and he's just like, I'm gonna pick this guy, slams down, and then suddenly he's someone else. They had that gag in there. And they even brought out the old timeout gag, where Ben's just in the middle of doing something, he's beating up the bad guys, and then suddenly when he's in the zone, he thinks he's gonna do something, then the Omnitrix times out and turns him back into regular old Ben Tennyson. I'm glad they brought that back, actually. I'm actually glad they brought that back. That definitely feels like regular Ben 10 right there. And I also like the partner. Since this is the first episode, I really haven't gotten invested that much, so I haven't really memorized his name. But I like the partner. He's supposed to be characterized as the more serious guy who takes the job more seriously. But this is kind of where they kind of switch around the roles somewhat. Like, usually for a buddy cop thing, it's usually where the one that takes his job seriously is kind of the smart one, he knows all the tricks, while the dumb one is the guy who doesn't take any, he's like the rookie or something. he usually doesn't take his job all that well. They kind of switched around. Like Ben's kind of the more dumb one who just kind of rolls his own way. Well, this guy takes his job seriously, but he kind of takes it too seriously. It's a new take, and I kind of like it. I'm not saying it's great, but it's all right. And then I also like the villain. He's not really much of the villain, so to speak, but he's kind of the guy who's, I think, going to be like this season's villain of old Omniverse. Like, you know, Ben 10 usually has like an underlying subplot for each season. I think this guy is supposed to be this series' apparent subplot villain. Like, you don't know who he is, and he only has like a few lines, but admittedly, he actually feels like a good villain. I actually did get the chills the second time I saw him in the episode. He was actually pretty good. His design was all right, and I think this is and yeah, and plus that we were introduced to 2 new aliens, and I'm a big Ben 10 nut, and whenever I see a new alien, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I freaking love this. I always like seeing the new aliens. Even in Omniverse, in Ultimate Alien, in the end of Ultimate Alien, when they started showing off, like, dumb ones like Edel, which is, I still swear, is just an RC version of Upchuck, and Jury Rig, who I still wonder why he was created in the first place. Because he's just going to be an alien equivalent of a gremlin. I honestly I actually did like the 2 aliens they introduced in this episode. They were alright. And, judging by the timer, I'm gonna make this a 2-parter video, because apparently my iPod can't sustain more than 15 minutes or something, I don't know. So, tune in for part 2, where I actually state what I didn't like. So, please tune in for part 2.